It looks like the new Black Clover chapter has revealed the land of the rising sun, with Asta stranded on the coast. What is the significance of this? Who is this person? How did it happen, and how will it help Asta become stronger? In fact, to become the strongest of all time, in just 7 days. We also explain why Yuno has become the strongest mage in history, of course here without including Asta, Lucius and Julius, who have become so strong because of devil magic and could very well be stronger than Yuno, especially Julius and Lucius. If you end up liking this video, consider subscribing. Please enjoy this video, let's go! The new Black Clover Chapter 336 begins with Yuno being informed of the events that occurred that day with the Wizard King Julius Novacrono, who they now believe is the 4th Zogratis sibling Lucius Zogratis, the devil host for the time devil Astaroth. The mood is so bad that even Tabata's drawing style has changed just for this particular chapter to symbolize the despair they are going through at the moment. Not only do they think Julius is a traitor, but they do not know what happened to Asta. It's clear that the thought of his death is on everyone's mind. Yuno is furious. If there's anything that can make him so angry, it is only when someone takes away his best friend and rival, his foster brother Asta. Nacht shows up and explains that he can theoretically use the shadow of any person for his magic. Of course, he's probably referring to people he knows personally or at least has been in contact with, so not just random people, unless it's a similar ability like Mana Zone. Nacht probably knows how Ki works, which isn't surprising considering he's been Yami's best friend since childhood. That Nacht can read Ki could be the case because the only way Nacht can use the ability the way he describes it is if he can sense people's mana in a certain area, which he can then use to locate their shadows. In this case, mana and magic are pretty much the same thing. However, since Asta has no mana, Nacht can only locate Asta by either sensing anti-magic, which no one has been able to do yet, or by using Ki. In any case, this makes Nacht probably the most talented sensor type we've seen so far. Long story short, he can't sense Asta. For this he gave 3 possible explanations. Number 1, he's in another dimension. We already know that there are different dimensions in Black Clover: the underworld, the Shadow Palace, and probably also the place where the holy power comes from. So maybe the origin of all spirits and angels. According to the place where Asta is, it doesn't seem like this is another dimension. Number 2, he's on another continent, which is most likely the case, the land of the rising sun. And number 3, Asta is dead. Unless this is some sort of afterlife which for some reason is portrayed like the land of the rising sun, this possibility makes little sense, especially since Asta is still injured. Everything points to Yami's homeland, but more on that in a moment. We then get some more information about the whereabouts of Adramelech, and it seems like not only have we greatly underestimated Yuno's strength, I will explain in a moment how much stronger Yuno has become, but also how far Lucius is willing to go from the beginning. We already knew that there was a devil activity on the border of the Clover Kingdom, which is why Yuno was sent along with the Black Bulls and other magic knights to protect the kingdom, which is also why Yuno was absent from Asta's ceremony. Although we mentioned the chance that Adramelech could be traveling with high-ranking devils, we didn't see the reason why all other captains were not at the border when such powerful devils were attacking the kingdom. But Yuno clearly showed why everyone stayed so calm with Yuno at the front. What a high-ranking devil is a bit complicated because we have never met a high-ranking devil except for Zagret and Megicula, who eventually became a supreme devil, that is, she became a Cliffith devil after Astaroth disappeared from the underworld. So if we look at the high-ranking devils that we know and consider the way Adramelech was shocked by Yuno's power, we can see that the high-ranking devils might indeed be on a level comparable to Zagret. I mean, of course we could just say they are weaker than Zagret, but the fact is that they are of the same rank, so there's at least the possibility that they are indeed that strong. The only reason why we would say that these high-ranking devils are just not that strong would be that we just don't believe that Yuno has become so strong that he can just defeat so many Zagrets, even if Zagret's power level was only relevant 2 years ago. Because if they're indeed as strong as Zagret, then it means that at this point, Yuno is able to defeat Zagret with his little toe. And that's crazy, that makes him stronger than Lumiere and Licht at the same time. Which is why, of course, doubts about the strength of these high-ranking devils is very justified. Nevertheless, I would say that Yuno is by far the strongest mage at the moment except for Asta, because he obviously didn't show or couldn't show his true potential. And of course, without taking Julius and Lucius into consideration, Yuno defeated a bunch of high-ranking devils by simply releasing his mana. He didn't even raise his second arm to do it. He didn't transform into his Spirit Dive or Saint Stage respectively, and didn't use any special kind of magic. It seems that he simply used his mana to defeat these devils. Maybe there was some kind of wind magic involved, but the basic idea is the same. He did absolutely nothing. Even Adramelech is shocked. And as if all this wasn't enough, the one and only main villain, Lucius Zogratis, confirms that Yuno is the only one who can defeat him. I just want to make something clear here. Although it doesn't seem like Yuno is that powerful based on what Lucius said, because he said that out of the thousands of predictions, only one of those predictions gives them the upper hand. That means that in the one timeline where Lucius is defeated, Yuno is the one who is responsible. Of course, this sounds like 1 in 10,000 refers to the chance in which Yuno will be able to win against Lucius, and thus Lucius' statement refers to the strength of Yuno. So as if you let Yuno fight Lucius 10,000 times, then there's a chance that he will win once. But that is wrong. That was not the statement that Lucius made. That's not how Lucius magic works. It's not probability, it's prediction. Any timeline that Lucius can see is based on Yuno's current potential. This means that his current strength already has the potential to somehow defeat Lucius within the next 7 days, or perhaps on Judgment Day itself. My partner will now continue this review. Have fun.
Alright, so the fact that Yuno was able to defeat Lucius all by himself, even if only in one of the 10,000 timelines, means that he is already extremely powerful, and in fact is so strong that he can face Lucius without embarrassing himself. It's not going to be a pathetic attempt. It's possible that this is going to be a serious fight for both Yuno and Lucius. So he's on par with Lucius Zogratis when it comes to the possible potential a Yuno could achieve in the 7 days. For Lucius, it is now important that whatever was responsible for the circumstances that caused Yuno to defeat Lucius is manipulated in such a way that this timeline in which he loses to Yuno will never happen. And that's why he's so determined to get rid of Yuno as soon as possible. But of course, such a talented person can't just be defeated. If I were Lucius, I would try to turn Yuno into a paladin. You're welcome to watch yesterday's video on this topic. The link is in the comments below. It is important to note that Lucius Zogratis highlighted Yuno's 2 grimoires and 2 souls when talking about the timeline in which Yuno managed to defeat Lucius. So we can assume that what helped Yuno defeat Lucius in that one timeline, which Lucius is now doing everything he can to prevent, has something to do with the 2 souls, which in turn has a lot to do with what we explained yesterday. Can Lucius really use soul magic on a person who has 2 souls, and so on? Another possibility as to what the circumstances of this one timeline that could have caused Yuno to defeat Lucius could be Asta. We know that Lucius had made it seem like he can predict Asta in the future because of the way Asta's anti-magic has developed since the Spade Kingdom. Now, if Lucius can't see Asta's future, then he couldn't understand why Asta might be the reason why Yuno will be able to defeat Lucius in this one timeline. Because the real reason could be that Yuno alone was not the one who defeated Lucius, but together with Asta. If this is true, then the fact that Lucius still sees that this timeline is possible means that Asta will actually become much stronger within the 7 days and also manage to get back to the Clover Kingdom in time. We then see the showdown between Lucius and Yuno. Lucius calls Yuno by his full name. He clearly shows that Yuno is now his main opponent. A few more small things about the chapter before coming to the last panels. We have finally seen that Damnatio is not dead, but probably controlled by Lucius as we have predicted. So it is possible that he's now a paladin, depending on what a paladin really is. Next to him and Lily, we see 2 silhouettes. As we know, Tabal likes to use silhouettes of people he wants to hide for now. One of them actually looks like Nacht. Maybe it's Morgan. Of course, this is just a random idea. Furthermore, worth mentioning is that the bandage that Yuno wears on his arm. This seems to be something new, and the way Tabata puts a little focus on Yuno's hand might indicate that he wanted to give us a little hint that something about Yuno's arm is special. Maybe it has something to do with strength. Maybe Yuno has even learned to use his magic stone, which could explain his enormous increase in power. As we know, using magic stones can have a negative impact on the user, and to be honest, Yuno makes a very sinister impression even before Asta disappeared, considering the little flashback. Of course, this is not confirmed, just a pure speculation. But if that's the case, then maybe Yuno is hiding some kind of underworld mark on his arm that was created because of the magic stone. It can really either be an injury or Yuno is hiding something. And since we have talked about his flashback, here is something else very important to mention. When Asta said to Yuno that he thinks he is always ahead of him, Yuno showed exactly the same behavior as in the first chapter of Black Clover, when Asta said that Yuno is his rival and that one day he will surpass him. At that time, Yuno said that this will not happen, hence his reaction. And now the same thing is happening, but this time, Yuno has realized that Asta is actually ahead of him in terms of strength. Yuno is very talented and understands how strong Asta really is. The reason why Asta lost so easily to Lucius is because everything happened so quickly. The situation with Lucius and Sister Lily was just too much. He didn't even use his last form that he used against Lucifero in the Spade Kingdom. So we shouldn't underestimate Asta, especially considering how powerful Asta could become in the near future now that something very interesting is about to happen. This leads us to the end of the chapter. We see Asta, and although he's on the verge of death, he's still alive and stranded on a beach in a place that looks very hot. As Nacht said, Asta could be on another continent. Since Asta is alive and it doesn't look like another dimension, it can only be the land of the rising sun. This also makes sense because in the next panel, we see the sun symbolizing this land. And also, we see a tree very similar to the Japanese maple, the tree that everyone associates with Japan. And of course, Japan is called the land of the rising sun. In Black Clover, it's Yami's homeland. The focus of this last panel is clearly on the mysterious person standing right in front of Asta. Now, it could literally be anyone. Someone related to Yami, someone related to Sister Lily, someone related to Asta, or maybe it could be someone involved with time magic, maybe even someone involved with Astaroth, although we know that Astaroth is apparently already a part of Lucius. Well, time magic because that person seems to have known that Asta was coming, so either this person has the same ability as Lucius, or this person is simply involved in a conspiracy where they learned that Asta was going to arrive at this place at a certain time. Well, there are many possibilities here. Of course, it could also be a total coincidence. We won't go too deep into this topic today because it's just too much and deserves its own video, which of course we will publish as soon as possible. But it's clear that Asta will become stronger. One thing that is connected to the land of the rising sun is key. It could be that Yami himself, who left the land of the rising sun when he was just a child, never knew the true potential of ki, which the true warriors of his homeland used to fight with, and not to mention the true potential of katanas. That's it for today, folks. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to smash the like button, and if you're new to our channel, make sure you subscribe with the notification bell turned on. See you guys in the next video. Yami out.